Good morning everybody and welcome to your grammar lesson. Today we are talking all about simile and metaphor and how to understand the difference between the two of them. So first of all, what is a simile? Well, a simile is a comparison between two things and it must use like or as. If it doesn't contain like or as, it is not a simile. It's where you can compare two things, but these two things must not be too closely related. So for instance, if I was using a simile to describe a car, I would not use a type of car to talk about how fast that car was going. I would have to compare it to something that it isn't. And that's the thing that some people find so difficult sometimes, comparing it to something that it isn't related to. What is a metaphor? A metaphor is where you compare two different things, exactly like a simile, but there's a key difference. It does not use like or as. It could use is, it could use was, or it could just use nothing or a comma or something like that. As long as it doesn't use like or as, you don't get back to a simile. So you've got two sheets to do today. The first one is where you will turn a simile into a metaphor. You're given a simile, this is your first one. She danced like she was floating on air. Now you've got to turn this into a metaphor. Don't just remove like or as from the sentence, because then she danced, she was floating on air. That doesn't make any sense at all. There's no 100% rule book I can give you for turning these into a metaphor. You've just got to read it through carefully and think, does it make any sense? So she danced, she was floating on air. I'm going to have to rearrange it a little bit. And here I've rearranged it. She floated on air when she danced. Did she? No, she doesn't literally float, but we're giving the impression that she dances beautifully. She dances effortlessly. So that's what you're doing on the first sheet, but on the second sheet, you're going to finish off a simile or metaphor. So you're given a start to a simile or a metaphor. The first one is a simile. She ran like. Now you've got to think, what did she run like? Now it would be perfectly fine to say she ran like Usain Bolt. She ran like the Flash. What does this mean? That she ran very, very fast. However, you've got to be careful that you compare it to something sensible. For instance, she ran like a wet fish. In no way tells me how she ran. It doesn't tell me that she ran fast. It doesn't tell me that she ran slow. She cannot realistically run like a wet fish. It doesn't make any sense. So don't just pick something random. It has to be something that makes sense as to how she ran. You can't say she ran like a runner. Now think, if she's running, she obviously is a runner. She's somebody who's running, so she's a runner. So you can't compare it to the same thing. It can't be too closely related. So be very, very careful. It would be fine for me to compare her to something that ran fast, like the Flash, like Usain Bolt, like a cheetah, yeah, like a fast car. But it wouldn't be okay for me to just say the same thing over and over again. And that's what sometimes people find very difficult with simile and metaphor. Don't compare it to something that it already is, then it's too close. Okay, good luck.